Let's talk the context of section 42 of the Doctrine and Covenants, one of the most important sections in all the Doctrine and Covenants, because in it the Lord is going to give us what he calls the law of the church, or in Joseph's own words, he calls it the more perfect law of the Lord. And that is a great title for section 42, is the law or the more perfect law of the Lord. Well, what brings it about? Remember in section 38, back in January, Joseph and the New York Saints had been told to move and gather to Ohio, where there was this body of converts living there on the Morley farm, or the family farm. And notice this here, by the way. They prepare to move for the 8th time in their 4 years of marriage. They're moving on average every 6 months. This is sad as well. Over in Harmony, Pennsylvania, where Joseph's home was that they had been renting from their in-laws, Emma Smith says goodbye to her in-laws and never saw them again, by the way, the rest of her life, when she moves away from Pennsylvania and goes and gathers with the saints in Ohio. In the dead of winter, she and Joseph Smith travel to Kirtland, Ohio, and they travel on Joseph Knight's sleigh, Joseph's longtime friend and benefactor. They travel there on this sleigh. They arrive there on the 1st of February, and they stay with the Whitneys when they get there. When Joseph arrives in Kirtland, there is an important store owner. His name's Newell K. Whitney, and there's a picture of Newell. He owns this store here. When Joseph pulls up, he bounds into the store, sticks his hand across the counter and shakes the man's hand and says, "Newell K. Whitney, thou art the man." And Newell K. Whitney says to him, basically, "You know me, but I don't have the pleasure of knowing you. Who are you?" And Joseph says, "I'm Joseph the prophet. You prayed me here. Now what do you want with me?" And Newell K. Whitney then later tells Joseph that he and his wife had prayed that the prophet would come live in Ohio. And Joseph says that he knew that because he saw him and his wife praying for him to come in vision. Needless to say, they move in with the Whitneys upon arriving, and the Whitneys house them, and the Whitneys and the Smiths become great friends, by the way. The rest of the New York Saints move to Ohio between January and May of 1831, within 6 months of getting the revelation to gather to Ohio. Well, it's now February 9th. Joseph's been there just over a week. And when he gets there, as promised, the Lord gives him section 42, the law of the church, as had been promised in Doctrine and Covenants section 38. As you go into section 42, I want you to approach section 42 the same way that somebody from the house of Israel would approach Exodus 20, where God gave Moses the commandments for the house of Israel. These section 42 are the commandments for the latter-day church, the more perfect commandments, the more perfect law. You'll read commandments in there that aren't given anywhere else. Thou shalt and thou shalt nots, such as thou shalt not be proud in thine heart. And a very, very, very important one, by the way, thou shalt consecrate of thy properties, where it shows it's a commandment for church members to live the law of consecration. As you study this section, good luck, and I'd invite you to highlight what these more perfect laws are for the Lord, for his latter-day church.